Welcome, everyone, to another episode of season 6 of the Runners Roundtable. Where season 6, it's our Beyond Pace season, and it is our favorite memories season where we get to talk about how running has changed us and how running has transformed us, and then also just how running unites us when we really sit down and think about why we run and when we accept that sometimes the why behind our running has to change as we move through life. So I am really excited to have Athena Farias here with me today because there is just so much that I want to ask you about that I think I'm going to have a really, really hard time narrowing it down and kind of keeping us to keeping us to the time for this podcast. And it's really just because you have so many hats and you do so many things. And I love that you are, I mean, first of all, I am completely enamored with the fact that you are a researcher because that's what I say. Like, I love to put my little research hat and learn about things and study and just understand the world better. But your research hat is way cooler because it is very much so within movement. And how do we make movement something that feels good for all of us? But even I read something in what you wrote where how do we use movement as a tool towards freedom? And I love that. So it's not only do you wear this researcher hat on, you are a runner, you are a run coach, and you are also a mentor to run coaches where I'm like, oh my God, there's just so many beautiful layers here of what I've been hoping to do this entire season of helping us expand what it means to be a runner and how we can show up in the running space in so many different ways that are beyond the physical act of running. So, Athena, I want to just thank you so much for being here, for sharing this time with us. And I want to now kick it off to you and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about your running story and what's going on with running and you right now.
Okay, well, I live in San Antonio, Texas. So go Spurs, go. We are in the playoffs right now, or the championships right now. So yeah, I get to live in this beautiful city where it's hot and humid, and the summer has been here for the last like 4 months, and it's just only getting hotter and more humid. But yeah, so I am actually training for the Mount Hood 50 miler. That's July 11th. And it's been a season of training because I started off injured when the training started for this race. And then I also I've been going through perimenopause for the last 6 years. And I started HRT on April 29th. And so it has been a journey, let me say. So this training has looked a lot different than previous years, and it's fine because I've been running for 38 years, and I started racing or doing marathons in 2002. Marathon was my first race ever. I didn't go into a 5K, 10K or anything. I went straight for 26.2, and I've been hooked on that. And then I turned ultra runner in 2012, and so I've been doing ultras since then. But yeah, so it's an opportunity for me to kind of step into this transition and this new phase of life and really going in it with grace, right? Because I know like 5 years ago, if I would have been experiencing the same thing, it probably would have really thrown off my training, or I probably would have not taken on the challenge to complete the race. But I'm going full force, and I'm just going to go with what I know. And I know my body's strong. And, sometimes we know that those final miles are not run with our legs, or run with our mind and our heart. So yeah, so that's where I'm at.
I just I love that your first race was a marathon. I'm always just fascinated by people who that's their first race. And the question I have for you is, did you know there were other distances when you signed up for that? Or were you like, a marathon, this is great, let me do that?
I've been running for so many years, right? And I just there was a runner, Jose Iniguez, who had won the marathon here in Austin Marathon, and he would go to the gym that I went to, and I was always enamored. He would just jump on that treadmill, put it at 10, and just run for so long. And so I started communicating with him, and he that time it was like paper, like training in the newspaper. He put out a
Yeah.
free training, and I followed it to the T. And I don't think I knew of other distances at that time. I was just like, let's just go and do this. And it was so fun. Like I had zero uh clue what was I getting into. I didn't even hydrate or fuel. I was wearing cotton, all the things that a runner does, I did. And when you're young too, your body just kind of absorbs the training and you just move on. But yeah, when I crossed that finish line, yeah, I was just like, this is what I want to do. And then I turned around and did the Austin Marathon a couple of months later. So yeah, and then I was just hooked. But yeah, definitely running is just, it's been my saving grace. It's been my safe haven, since I was, 12 years old. And it was just one of those things that it was just a natural doorway for me to enter, and I haven't closed the door, and I hope not to close that door until the my final finish line, right?
So you just said something that made me think about something that you posted about recently, and I'm going to ask you to talk to us a little bit about running being a teacher and how, and this is why I like to ask, like, what's your relationship with running? Or I talk about the relationship with running because it is a relationship, and you have had a 38-year long relationship, which, like any good long relationship, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be moments of being completely in love, there's going to be moments of being completely frustrated. But you posted something about everything running has taught you, which made me really think about running is a teacher. And if we allow it to be, it can be one of the greatest teachers we ever have. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that in terms of, for yourself, how has running how has running impacted your life? And then for all of us that are listening here, how can we embrace learning from running instead of, I think oftentimes we try to force running to be a certain thing. So just curious your thoughts on this idea of running being this great teacher.
Yeah, running always gives back when I'm listening to my body. Other than that, it's a bad experience because I have stepped into the pretty dark hole with my body physiologically. So yeah, it parallels life. So I knew that I didn't have the support system as a young child. I had a traumatic childhood, and I was able to find running. And I knew at that moment that this was just going to be a place of um, just like peace and serenity. And I felt so much freedom in each step. Like it literally, just with every step, I felt my stress wash away. And again, at the age of 12, when I was in my early teens, I didn't understand what was going on, but I just knew that I had something that I can control, and that was running at that time. And again, at 12, you don't know too much, right? Like you're just trying to get through life and go to school and do those things. But I didn't have that support system. And so I needed something to fall back on. And I always knew, like, if I could get through 1 mile, that I'm going to be able to get through another day. So I think it's that runner math that I was doing
Mhm.
at that age where I would, make a deal with myself. If I ran for 3 minutes or 30 minutes or 3 miles, and, the next 3 days, I'm going to get through these next 3 days. So, and as that's carried me all the way through. And, I was a young mother, and, you just kind of, everything parallels life. You just learn so much. And I learned about my body during pregnancy, and I learned about my body post pregnancy and postpartum, and I didn't really understand what was going on. And I may have had postpartum. I was not diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure, right? Just like as I look back 1 years, like, oh, well, that was definitely postpartum. But again, you're so young, and I always had running to kind of just fall back on, to just kind of get me back to a place of peace and control. And I think that's what it all comes back to, is like something that was mine and something that I knew that was um, my time alone. Like I had 30 minutes to myself, that 60 minutes to myself, to be able to let things kind of calm down, because everything's rushing, right? All the
Mhm.
things, all the thoughts and all the stresses of life kind of just come together. But running allowed me to just let that go, right? For that particular time frame, I just had nothing to think about, just that right foot, left foot, just move forward, watch out for traffic and things like that. And I got stronger. Running built this strength and this resilience and durability in my personality and just everything that I do. And it helped me strive for things, right? I graduated early from high school. And again, I don't know what, prompted that, but I knew I signed up for classes at Texas Tech, and I was able to graduate early because I knew I needed to get out of my situation. So, you know, and you just keep moving forward. But running was always there. Running was something I always had that I could fall back on to keep me moving in a positive direction. In your family, that you have things in your family that could possibly be something of you. So addiction was definitely in my family. And thankfully for me, I chose running. And at and times, right, I like I said, if I don't give back to myself, running was impacted. And I've been in that situation where I had female athlete triad syndrome. I didn't have a period for 3 years because I used running in a negative way, right? Because I was putting all my time and energy, because all life around me was chaotic.
Mhm.
So I abused it, right? I used running and strength training, and had disordered eating, like all of that stuff. So it does impact you physiologically. And fortunately for me, I was going to school for my undergrad in exercise science, and so I did learn about female athlete triad syndrome. I got on the right track because of one of my courses that I was taking. And I was like, I think that's what I have. And so I got the help that I needed. And that's when I became an advocate for my own health, because at that time, we know as endurance athletes and as females, there's not a lot of information out there, especially 30 years ago. So I remember going to forums to figure out what was wrong with me, how to get my menstrual cycle back without having to go on some type of hormone. And I went through, Runner's World. They had some I guess, like blogs or things like that. I can't remember.
Mhm.
They were just information on the web then. And I was able to get back on track. And it took some time. And thankfully, I had providers, physicians that listened to me and helped me. Um, they understood that I was advocating for my health, and they understood that they didn't understand me as an athlete. And so, just moved forward. So like, just running has just taught me to stand up for what I believe in. If I need to stay in control, find guidance, anything like that, running was always there to keep me on track. And again, when you think about all the things when you're in your training, if you're doing a 16 training block, or you're out on long run and you have those lows, you just it literally parallels life. And you're like, I've been through this before. I've had this feeling. I can just keep putting one foot in front of another and know that it's going to take time. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm going to feel better, and I'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's how it's always been.
Yeah, I love that you keep saying how it runs parallel to life, because it really does, right? Like there is, I would say for myself, and I can assume for a lot of people, there's a strength you discover about yourself on the run that does bleed into the rest of our lives, where you think, oh, if I can survive this 30-minute run, and I love that you said that, if I can survive this 30-minute run, then I can make it through the next 3 days, right? If I can make it through this challenging season of training, then I can make it through this challenging season of life. And one of the things that you talked about is, again, this relationship of building that awareness between yourself and running, and knowing, when are you using running for something negative versus when are you using running for something positive? And I think for a lot of us, that's probably a really difficult line to discover, especially when, and you said it, when life is extra chaotic, it's really easy to turn to running as that one thing you can control. And in that effort to control it, you almost lose control of what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I think that's the question I want to ask you now is just how do we walk that line of running being a tool? Again, this like tool for freedom, this tool for connection, this tool for discovering our strongest, best self. When, how do we walk that line when it can be a tool for good and it can also be a tool for so much control that I don't know, we end up restricting ourselves in a way.
We do. We restrict, and we are definitely getting injured at this time. I mean, you start prioritizing running over the important things in life, your work, your family, other obligations, responsibilities. And it's because that's the only thing you can control in that moment, right? But when I learned about the female athlete triad syndrome, learned that our menstrual cycle is a barometer of health, right? And so thankfully I was going through school, learning all this stuff, and I'm really, a proponent of healthy, right? And longevity and quality of life, that you want to be independent as long as possible. And, being able to put that in the health perspective or the health continuum. So that really helped me really kind of make sure that I had a line. Like if I passed this line, then I knew that I was putting my health at risk. Again, I wasn't perfect. I was learning on the go. I had other injuries, I've had, I think, every injury that every runner has had, from, broken clavicle all the way down to stress fracture and my metatarsal. So, and everything in between. So, but again, it's, really appreciating the ability of your body to move if you support it through nutrition, through hydration, through stress management, and through sleep. Because if we don't have those non-negotiables, that's what I call them, non-negotiables, then everything else is going to fall apart, and then you won't be able to do the things that bring you joy, which is movement. And I love to run, I love to hike, I love to lift heavy weights. And when you don't have the capacity, then you feel really out of control. So it's like making this deal, like, I know when I start feeling fatigued, or if I've missed meals, or if I'm not hungry, like I listen to those cues. And it's really hard because we're so distracted as a society
Mhm.
now. We don't listen to those cues. It's like when our car when our car starts rattling, we just turn up the radio, right? But our body's giving us those clues all the time, and we do the same thing, right? We
Yeah.
disassociate them. And but we really have to, especially as athletes and especially as females in this space, we definitely want to be very attuned to what is going on in our bodies, and really listen to it. Like if you're starting to notice you're not getting enough sleep, or you're starting to feel, whispers in your knee, I mean, those are signs that something needs to be dialed back, or maybe you need to eat more, or whatever, or, do some meditation or read a book before bed. Like there's so many different things. I mean, we have information at our fingertips, so we've got to like dial that in. Um, Versus like 30 years ago, I really didn't know. I didn't know anything about
Yeah.
female athletes. Now I do, right? Like, and now I know REDS, and I really communicate this with my athletes and anybody that I'm speaking with, my friends. If they start saying certain things, or identifying things, I'm like, oh, you may want to talk to your PCP, or get with a dietitian, or let's do a movement assessment. Let's communicate, because that's your body telling you, hey, I'm here. I'm really trying to show you that this is not going to last too much longer, especially when you're older. You can write it out a little bit when you're younger, but that's not necessarily what you want to do, right? We really want to educate early on so that we are able to move and stay moving for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing you say is the importance of thinking of our future self, right? In these moments of, yes, pushing myself right now might feel really good, but is pushing myself right now going to be the thing that's going to prevent me from doing this later? And how can I engage in a conversation with myself, with my body, with running this thing that I love to do so that I can continue doing it? And I always say, and I love that you said whispers, because I always say that the body whispers, and if you don't listen, it screams. And
Yeah.
that's kind of it. Like our bodies are constantly communicating with us in terms of how we're feeling. And if we're listening, then we are pulling back, we're adjusting, we're pivoting, we're adapting, we're doing all those things. If we're not listening, eventually something's going to break down. And then that breakdown is going to be even more upsetting, because much to what you're saying is you're using running, or you're using this thing to try to control, and then not having it makes you feel really out of control. So it's all it's all a dialogue, and it's all a conversation, again, that we're having with ourselves, that we're having with running, or with however it is that we're moving our bodies, and understanding that in order for us to do these things for the long term, we do have to take a step back and think about what is actually best for the long term. If I want to be a runner in my 70s, then how am I today taking care of my body, taking care of my mental state so that I can do that? So it's really, to me, this is such an interesting conversation. And I also wanted to say, like, this parallel too now of here you were 30 years ago, like trying to figure it out. And in many ways, you're trying to figure it out all over again, because hi, being a woman is really fun, and hormones fluctuate, and perimenopause, postmenopause, and all of that stuff. And I'm curious to know, before I ask you about your memory, curious to know, are you noticing any parallels in terms of how you may have to advocate for yourself now and how you advocated for yourself then?
Yes, absolutely. Thankfully, uh, I started going through perimenopause right during COVID. It was wild, but thankfully we had time on our hands, and I was able to do a lot of research, and I've done a lot of, um, you know, continuous education and certifications with Dr. Sims and Dr. G. Like I have a lot of certifications with so many, because I just wanted to really dive in and understand, right? Because now I'm on the other side, right? I had, the female athlete triad syndrome back then, and had to navigate all that, through that space. And then I understand that now I'm on the other side where, because of that, it's impacting how difficult this is, as well as the traumatic childhood. I learned this when I was on the Celine Yeager Hit Play on Pause podcast, that, if you've experienced childhood trauma, perimenopause is definitely going to hit you in a different way too. And so for me, I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. Like I am, I'm not depressive. Like even though I had such a horrible childhood, like I've always seen the light, right? I've always been able to always find something to gravitate towards to get me to that next day. But during the beginning stages of pairing, this is why I didn't know what it was. I was depressed, suicidal ideation, like all these things started really taking over, like just anxiety. And I was like, what is happening, right? So those were my first symptoms. And then over about a year and a half, and again, thankfully for the education that we do have, that's Dr. Stacy Sims put out there, and Celine Yeager and some others, like I was able to, just knowing that this was because of the hormones, I was able to like get back on track, like let it not impact me on the daily like it was. And it was just like overnight. It was a big shift. And it was, again, just really cool to have that knowledge of like, okay, this is normal, right? Because you feel like you're going crazy.
Yeah.
um, and thankfully I have a supportive husband who was there and really trying. He's just like, look, tell me what you need, to help me get through those really bad days. And then I went through all the other symptoms: hot flashes, night sweats, um, extreme heavy bleeding, multiple days, and just like all the things that I went through. Once I got my cycle back, like that was a whole nother issue too. But like, I knew that I can get through it because I had gone through it, and being able to find a provider was essential. So thankfully 20 years, I had my OBGYN. I was with her for 22 years, and unfortunately she retired like 3 years ago. So I had to find a new provider. But thankfully this provider is very wanting to understand the female athlete, because we are different, right? I mean, I've had so many different health issues. I would symptoms. They were not health issues, but it's because they didn't know how to respond to someone whose resting heart rate is 37 beats per minute. So like, like they said I had a heart attack at one time. Like, it's just because the EKGs are set at 60 beats per minute, like all these things. So I had to do my own research, right? Like I've always been advocating for all these things all my life. So when I felt comfortable going into this phase, like, oh, I can find the right provider. And thankfully I was able to go through a couple, and I finally found one that was able to understand that this is going to be a team effort to get through this phase of life. Actually, I was just communicating with her yesterday because I'm experiencing some things that is something you do not want to experience on a 50 miler. So we were communicating, and she's just like letting me talk through it with her, and that just alone helps you be able to be like, I'm going to be okay, so it definitely different. I knew training was going to I was going to have to adjust my training. I was a mile monster. I love running. I love running 5 to 6 days a week, but that's had to change, and that's okay. And just having to, I've always strength trained. Like I've been running 38 years. I've been lifting weights for 34 years. So strength has always been part of that. So for me, fortunately for me, like it's a natural flow to just kind of divvy up my training, but it's definitely a lot different. Is a lot different than what I used to do from 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I think that's again where this viewing running as a relationship that you're in is a helpful reframe, because you see that you have to change in order for that relationship to continue. And again, the parallels to life, right? Where like a lot of the relationships that you have with some of the humans in your life have to change, right? You have a child, or you have, and I know you have grandchildren, right? So like how you interacted with them when they were babies is not how you're interacting with them now as they're graduating different grades or as they're moving up. And it's the same with our kids, where it's how we interacted. And I think of like my own girls, where it's like, yes, how I interacted with them when they were 5 is not the same as how I'm interacting with them at 15. And that's okay. And it's
Yes.
okay. And I think that's something that I wish more people would embrace. And I know it's really, really hard, but it's embracing that our relationship to running has to change in order for us to continue doing it in a way that is going to be supportive of our goals. It's going to be supportive of our health. And it's funny because I often hear, especially from the women who are like, I used to run, 60-mile weeks and I loved it. And they're like, and then I hit menopause. And now if I can get to 40 miles a week, that is a good week. And it's like, yeah, because we have to change. Or even I think of myself, where the older I get, the more I realize, oh, I have to put more effort and time into strength training. So if I am spending X amount of time running, I need to spend almost an equal amount of time strength training just to make sure my body stays happy. And that's a shift, because when I was younger, it was put on the shoes and head out and run. I didn't have to think about any of that, right?
Or
Now
like
I'm like,
spending 15
yeah,
minutes on mobility before and activation before heading out. Yes.
absolutely. So it's like now it's like, oh, it's a different relationship. And I think if we could embrace being excited about that, it would make those transition points a lot easier because then we're excited about the future and what we can do instead of lamenting what we were able to do, right? So instead of seeing it as, oh, I can no longer do that, it's like, well, what can I do? And can I be excited about what can I do, even if the what can I do is less than what I'm used to? But it's kind of to your point where it's like, yeah, you may not be running the same, but you have to add 15 minutes before your run to even do your run. So time wise, we're probably equaling out here.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing all of that. And I was just curious because I'm like, I'm sure there's parallels here. We're kind of coming full circle. So I wanted to bring us now to the theme of this season, and it's your favorite running memory. And I'm wondering, do you have a memory to share with us?
Oh, I do. I do. So it was in 2019. We did this. I was invited to do the Speed Project, and so I was able to get myself and five other females together. So as a six-woman team, we'll run 58 miles each over the 340 miles. I think everybody knows what the Speed Project is. It's a run from the Santa Monica Pier to Las Vegas in a relay style. There's no rules, no road. I mean, you kind of pick your route. They kind of tell you where you can go and how to get to certain areas. So I love this story because this is where you make that connection and you build those relationships. So the Monday before we were supposed to start, which was that Friday, the 29th of March, our runners, four runners were from San Antonio and two from California. One of our runners from California was diagnosed with a stress fracture. And so you know how hard it's going to be to find a female who can run, through all various temperatures, through the night, all those things, right? And so back then they had like a message board on Facebook, like looking for runners. And I think I posted like around 9 p.m. at night that Monday night, right? Because I was a team captain and I'm the one that's been getting everything ready. And I had posted it, said I need a female runner. Where I gave all the information like what times we're looking for and all the expectations. And at 3 a.m., I obviously I couldn't sleep because I was responding at 3 in the morning. I was looking at my messages. I still have them on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and I hear my phone go off, and I look, and somebody had replied. And so we started communicating, and her name is Alicia, and she's from Australia. And so I'm having this 50-minute conversation, like we're going back and forth. I'm like, she's like, I think I can do this. I live in Australia, but I think I can, if we decide right now, I have 14 hours to be able to get on a flight to the States. So I was just like, okay. So like I asked her, like, I didn't have no time to like do research or dig deep. I asked her what her 10K time was and what how many miles she's already been running, right? Because I was like, those are the two things I need to know. Right? Like, and then after that, we'll figure everything else out. And mind you, I've got five other team members, right? So, or for now, four other team members that I didn't have time to reach out to them because I knew they were asleep. So I was just like, okay, let's do this, right? So by 7:50 the next morning, she was just like, I can get a flight, or got my flight and everything. So I was like, oh, I got to tell my team members, that we're going to have somebody that come on to our team, and she is not from the United States. And so I let them know. I was like, hey, we've got a runner. They were excited. Then I was like, but she's from Australia, and I've been communicating through Messenger. And so right away, they're just like freaking out, right? Because they're like, this is a serial killer, Athena. Like, you were going to get catfished, like all these things. But I just kind of knew, right? Like, I was just like, no, she's cool. Like, who in the world would go on to the Speed Project and wanting to look for a runner and do something terrible, right? Like, who
Yeah.
would do that? So anyway, you get a group of women together, and they're better than FBI,
Yep.
so they, asked me, for a full name, and so I gave them, he gave it to them. I'm like, okay, y'all do that. I've got to figure out other things, right? Because I mean, we were flying out Wednesday, so this is Tuesday already. We're flying out the next day. A lot had to be done, and then just constant communication with her because they're, you know, I don't remember how many hours they're ahead of us, but they're ahead of us, right? And so I knew that things had to move quickly. So I let them figure that stuff out, but I was like full heart. I had faith, everything that things were going to work out. So everything, we are flying out on Wednesday, and she had that flight. She was supposed to fly in on Wednesday, but they kept delaying her flight. Then it got canceled. So like, oh no. So they're worried because we're like, oh no, we're gonna have to absorb those miles. Now it's gonna be a women team of 5, and like who can add another, 40 miles like that? That's a lot of miles.
Yeah.
But we're gonna figure it out. And I was like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Thankfully, we flew in. They booked her. We were in California. They booked her, and she got there the next day with one of our other athletes. And so, up until that point, they still thought we were being catfished. Like they were just so worried. But nope, she got off the plane, just very happy, go lucky. Like it was like we were best friends, like with the whole team. Like she just meshed. And I just, like running, right? Like I just kind of knew, just speaking through Messenger on with her, like how she was communicating with me. Like I just felt like it's going to be okay, and it sure was, right? Like, I mean, right away, when they picked her up, they just loved her, and then we got to meet as a team and went and picked up our packets, and then it was on from there, right? And it just flowed, and now we're still, good friends, and hopefully we're hoping to go in January to Australia to go visit her. But yeah, it's just like those things. And and the feedback, I mean, in of itself, you're getting an RV with 6 women,
Mhm.
and we had 2 support systems, my husband and the driver and another individual that was helping navigate. And things are going well. And unfortunately, we got to about 50 miles outside of Barstow, and it's like we were on dirt roads, and we made a wrong turn. And unfortunately, we made the wrong turn into just an area that was pure sand. And you have, I can't, a
Mm.
heavy RV, right? We got stuck. And so this was in the middle of the night. It was dark. We're near an airplane graveyard. And so we were using everything we could find, like, because there was airplane parts, the wings and different parts of the plane. We were trying to like put them under the tires. We were trying to dig. Fortunately for one of our runners, she had the AAA. We had 2 tow trucks. Both of them got
Oh,
stuck. That's how bad the sand was, but they kept on. They were communicating with us the whole time. We were stuck for 9 hours. But during that 9 hour time, not one of us spoke a word about quitting. It was just an unspoken, like in our own minds. We talked about it afterwards, like, because we didn't say anything. We were just like focused on getting the RV unstuck, getting back on route. And yeah, like I just remember they got us out, they pulled us out. We had to go up this hill that was just so crazy. I mean, again, and I'm feeling so bad for Alicia because, at least four of us are, really good friends. And then, she's like, what did I just get myself into? But she was just like, she was in 100%. She was just like part of our run family, our run tribe, and we got through the tow truck company. Both of their workers, they worked with us for like 9 hours, and they got us to where we stopped. Right, they're like, no, we're getting you to there, and we're making sure you're going to get to the road. And like they stayed with us, and like I teed up. I mean, again, no words were spoken. We didn't say anything, and I just got out of the RV and I just started running. And then we knew, okay, we're going to do this, and we got back on track, and we were to finish in like 61 hours. But like you go through so many highs and lows, and it was meant to be for Alicia to be part of our experience, and I wouldn't have changed anything about that, because I think it was meant to be, just like the universe saying, okay, we're gonna get these people together somehow, some way, and we've all been so connected.
I this story made me so stressed. Like I felt the stress just building where I was like, why is coming from Australia and trusting it and like having no clue, but also the amount of bravery on everyone's part,
Yeah.
right? Of welcoming Alicia to the group, of Alicia saying, yeah, I'll go. Like it's not
I
like it's not like you're in, Massachusetts and you're traveling to California. Like you are traveling around the world to get there. Or if not, you're taking
had
a very
14
long
hours.
flight.
Like
Yeah,
that's all we
you're
had.
taking a very long flight to try to get there. So it's the amount of bravery to do that. And even just I've done two relay races, two, three, maybe three relay races in my life. And they're the best experiences if you have a great team. Like
Yes.
if everyone on the team jives, if everyone's kind of has the same goal, the same perspective, the same, just the same why for being there, it can be an incredibly fun experience. But if you're not, it can be really challenging. So
Oh, yes.
even just thinking of this added stressor of 9 hours stuck in the sand and everyone was just okay with it, that also says a lot too about the group of people that came together. And I always, serendipity. I love that word. I love just this whole thing sounds very serendipitous of you were able to get someone to come on your team at the final hour. And then that person who came on, much to what you said, where it's like everyone else was really close. And then here is this person that's an outsider. And then you're put into an extra stressful situation of being stuck for 9 hours. And you're kind of like, well, and I'm sure in those 9 hours, it's kind of the do we continue? Do we not continue? Do we what do we do here? And I this story just made me so nervous. So so I'm going to ask you this question and it's when you're thinking about this memory, when you're thinking about this experience, how would you say it's shaped who you are as a runner today?
Just made me that much more excited to be in this community, right? Like to keep pushing forward. And again, I love giving people experiences. And so being able to, when I told them that, because I had reached out, because at that time it was still like the secret race. Now it's a little bit more,
Mm.
out in the open. But I mean, I was, lucky enough that I had all the experience because I had done I've been a team captain for 7 years for the Cap to Coast, which is Austin to Corpus Christi, 223 miles. And I used to have two teams for that. So, they're like, okay, she's solid. So when I had 24 hours, right, they give you 24 hours to get your team together. And when I reached out to the athletes that I knew that I would want to race for, and like you said, you've been on relay races, and there's certain personalities that I knew that I did not want to be interacting with. I knew who I wanted, and being able to just right away just know in my heart, when I was, when Alicia, communicated and reached out, like I was like, yeah, I just knew like it was going to be fine, and it totally was. And yeah, I just want to give people this experience. Like who else would want to go run 58 miles in total from, Santa Monica Pier through Death Valley, through these crazy town, Barstow, which, is well known for their, they're just well known, but we were warned, right? So, and we did see the things that they said we would see. And, like, and to be able to know that, gosh, when you have support system and you just keep your mind positive light, because life is going to be chaos, you're going to get through those things, you're going to get through those tough moments. And like I said, those 9 hours, I don't think one of us none of us mentioned that we wanted to quit. We just had a goal in mind to get the RV unstuck so we can get back out there to finish what we started, right? And that was to get to the Las Vegas sign. And we did, right? So, and that parallels a lot of things just in life, when you're looking at work or going to school or marriage or divorce or, kids or, aging parents, like all of that, like it's just, we always have to keep something like that carrot dangling, right? To know that we're going to get to that point. That's why I like to sign up for challenges. I like to do different events. I like to get people moving in any way I can. I want them to share that experience with me, because I know without running at the age of 12, if I didn't choose running, I wouldn't be here today. I would, so yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had that experience. I'm glad that everyone came together because again, and you said it, right? Like the personalities, like, so Alicia was this huge wild card of this is someone whose personality you don't know. And it worked out. And I just, again, I keep thinking of the bravery on everyone's part of just coming by yourself to hop on this team and the people on the team accepting. And I am just, I just,
Not all of us would do that, right? Like a
no,
wild card,
no.
like who would fly, and she trusted us, just like they my teammates didn't trust the decision that I made. I'm like, she's coming to us, right, by herself to a whole new country. Her husband staying back home, like she literally, and then like the things that she put herself through. But yeah, like it's incredible. Like the bravery she had for sure, and trusting me, right. It was both ends, right? It's not when we're thinking about our story, we're thinking about just ourselves, but her alone coming and flying in and staying. We stayed with a friend in LA. Like we could have been
Yeah,
serial killer standing.
the same. And then, so I'm like, it's just a wild story, but it's also that reminder that runners are some of the best people, right? Like runners
But
really are some of the best people. And we, whenever we're giving those opportunities to take chances on people, we should take them, right? That kind of this reminder of you don't know what friendships are going to bloom for it. You don't know what memories are going to be made for him. You have no clue. And yet now, 2019, so 7 years later, to think of that's something that you all still have, it's really special. And it's all because everyone said yes at the last moment to this adventure. So that's absolutely incredible. I have now a series of questions to ask you, and they might be rapid fire-ish and they might not. So we'll just kind of see where it goes. But the first question that I have for you is if you could go back in time to speak to your younger runner self, what would you say?
we're still here. Yeah.
Okay. Like,
Yeah.
flipping that question is if flipping the question is what hopes do you have for your future runner self? And I'm sorry, it's like, I don't know if you can see here.
Oh my goodness. Hello. So cute. What's his name?
His name
Oh,
is Ziggy. It's Ziggy. And he's like, Mama play, Mama play.
he's
So
like,
I'm
oh yeah.
trying to
He's
like
like,
and I'm like, so I'm like trying to answer the question. I'm trying to tell you the questions and stay focused here, but he's also like really wanting to play. So
Ziggy, I'm sorry. Mommy's almost done.
yeah, so and that's it, he snuck in. Like I kicked him out and he came
Oh,
back and snuck in. So
I love
he
that.
really wanted to be here and he wanted to be here with you. So
I
again,
love
the question is, what hopes do you have for your future runner self?
I want to be running as long as I can and continuing to share the passion that I have for running. Because, like I said, without running, life would be way different, or I would not be here. Running gives back as long as I'm putting that effort into it as well.
Yeah, and I think now with everything that you do, it's also so beautiful to see how running has rippled from you, right? How running goes into your athletes, how it goes into the people that you mentor, and how it's not running for in many ways can seem like a solo sport, but it's not. And how we impact each other, that sometimes that is our legacy of how are we leaving people in the running space better,
Yeah.
and you're doing that in so many different ways. The next question that I have for you is how do you celebrate yourself as a runner?
Oh, that's a hard question. How do I celebrate myself as a runner? Hmm. I think I'm just so joyful that I can still continue to run after 38 years, right? Like it's the evolution of my running has been so grand, right? And I love what I'm seeing now in the runner space. Um, I want to see more diversification. So yeah, just the fact that I'm still able to lace up and get out there when I know like some runners are unable to do the things, I've had friends that can no longer run and I've seen that impact. But yeah, I just celebrate every morning that I can lace up. It's a good day.
Absolutely. And this is not one of my set questions, but it's one I definitely want to ask you in terms of what do you think we all need to do to make running more diverse and inclusive?
We need to go to where people are. If we're not seeing people in our community that are not showing up to our runs, we need to take inventory who is not there and then go to those communities and show up in their space and collaborate with them. Everybody's collaborating with coffee shops, pastry shops, Lululemon, like all these, brands. But you know what? You can we won't have the brands if we don't have the people. We
Mhm.
gotta go to the people and invite them, right? What can we do to help you and help you feel comfortable and confident and safe in the space? What are we missing? Those are the things that we need to do.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight that what you said was collaborate, right? You're not saying let's go in and co-op it.
No.
You're not saying let's go and take over and none of that. It's collaboration. And I think that is such a key difference of in order to get people feeling comfortable being a part of the community, they have to feel invested in it, right?
Yeah.
They have to feel invested in it. And it's kind of hard to feel invested in something that you don't feel like you have a say in,
Yep.
right? So I just wanted to point that that
Yeah.
specific language
Yeah.
because it's really important. This question is the easiest question. And it's just where do we find you and how can we better connect with you?
I'm on Instagram at EnduraFitSATX. That's where you can find me.
All right. Final question is what are your final words for us?
uh, get outdoors, move your body because movement is medicine. And without movement, we won't be able to continue to do the things that we enjoy doing. So go out and get outdoors, get off of tech, and move your body.
Naps to that. Athena, thank you so much for being here, for being with me, for sharing your crazy story, and for just being you, truly just being you. So, everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.